Welcome to Meldon Law and Friends. We have a great show for you today. Before we get to our guest, Lizzie Jenkins from the Real Rosewood Foundation, I want to go over a couple things going on at Meldon Law and the Florida Gators. This week is a huge week for the Gators. The Gator gymnastic team has a meet against Auburn this Friday at 7:15, and it's going to be an amazing match. The Gators are ranked number 2 in the country, and Auburn's ranked number 5 in the country and has one of the top gymnasts in the whole country, maybe the world. Suni Lee is coming in to compete with Auburn. So it's going to be a super match, and whoever wins this match coming up Friday will have an inside track on the SEC championship in gymnastics. So it's a big deal, and we're looking forward to it. Meldon Law is going to be doing a fan fest there, and we're going to have the Wheel of Fortune and spinning for prizes, and it's going to be really a lot of fun. So join us. Now, the meet is sold out. However, we are giving away free tickets on Facebook. Go to Meldon Law Facebook page, and you'll see the contest to enter and get 2 tickets for the Auburn meet this coming Friday at 7:15. So let's check it out. We had a blast last week. There was a gymnastics meet Friday night, and dozens and dozens of people came by and checked out our fan fest at the meet, and it was a lot of fun. We met a lot of great people and gave away some really nice swag. So come and visit. And if you can't make the gymnastics event this coming Saturday at 3:30, the Gator basketball team is playing Missouri. And we're going to be giving away tickets for that as well. So go to our Facebook page, and you will see the tickets that are terrific seats, by the way, for the basketball event. So just go to Meldon Law Facebook page, and you'll see those tickets as well as others. So we've got Sunday, Gators women basketball. We're here at the Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, and in just a few hours, the Lady Gator basketball team is going to be coming here for an event that Meldon Law is helping to sponsor, and they're on a winning streak. They've very, very good team, great coach, Kelly Ray Finley, and we're looking forward to supporting women's basketball. So they are playing at 3 o'clock on Sunday, the 15th. So let's support our Gators and see what we can do to create winning programs throughout. A couple other things. We have been doing a really fine job on our newsletter. I have a picture of one of our newsletters here, and it's kind of cool. So the front page has our director of operations, Nikki Hadaway, who won a Tesla. Could you believe that? She won this Tesla Y model worth about $60,000 in a competition against operations directors and office managers of law offices around the country. And we had a whole crew. I think there was 8 of us from Meldon Law that were up there, and it was pretty exciting seeing one of our teammates win a Tesla. So the newsletter, by the way, has all kinds of neat giveaways. It's not for legal scholars. It's more of a fun newsletter. For example, in the December issue, we gave away $25 gift cards to Harry's Seafood Bar and Grill. And all you had to do was check in with us, and we were giving away these gift certificates for Christmas. And during the year, we have other giveaways as well. It's free. There's no obligation. Just go to the meldonlaw.com. That's our website. Or give us a call at the office, 352-373-8000. And we will be glad to share the newsletter with you. It's free, and it really is a fun newsletter. A couple other things. The Florida Accident Kit has been revised. Now, the accident kit has a lot of information as far as what to do in the event of an accident. Even somebody that works in a law office may forget. So what we did is we created a checklist. And you take this accident guide, put it in your glove compartment, and in the event that someone bumps into you or hits you or you're in a serious crash, we have a checklist. So, for example, take pictures. Take pictures of the license plate of the other vehicles. Well, why would you want to do that? Well, the fact is sometimes other vehicles leave the scene. And if you have their license plate, the police can track them down. Even more importantly, the witnesses, the folks that witnessed the accident, if you take a picture of their license plate, they may be late for work, picking up the kids, dropping off the kids. There's all kinds of things that may be going on. However, the witness may be invaluable as far as establishing what actually happened. If you have their license plate, the police will interview them. We'll be able to track them down and interview them. So that's another idea as far as what to do with your cell phone, the camera portion of it. Take pictures of the whole scene. Sometimes when you see the car isolated from the scene, you don't get a whole picture of how the crash happened, and more importantly, the mechanism of injury. If somebody's injured, why were they so seriously injured? And if you take pictures of the accident scene, skid marks, those are things that once everybody leaves are going to be changed forever. The damage to your vehicle, that's important. However, it's not nearly as important as getting pictures of the damage to the other person's vehicle, because that vehicle may disappear and you may never be able to get access to it again. So those are some of the things you can do with your cell phone camera function. We also have sections here, date, time, location, crash information, the police report, name of the police officer, crash report number, the other driver, the other vehicles, passengers, witnesses, tow truck information. So it's an easy checklist so that when you're in a scene, you don't freak out and forget to ask or do certain very important things. We are located in Gainesville, Ocala, Lake City. Give us a call. We're glad to help. We do not charge for initial consultation. And we're here at Meldon Law 24/7. A couple other things that we've also done. We've created something called a diminished value brochure. It's designed to help you when your vehicle has been in a crash and the vehicle is repaired. Most of you know that there's something called Carfax, and they keep track of when vehicles are in crashes, if they've been repaired, and people pay less money for a vehicle that's in a crash because they figure that it's, maybe going to have a twist to the left or a turn to the right, and something's going to happen, and it's not in brand new condition. So there's something in Florida called diminished value claim. So you have a $30,000 car, it's got 5,000 worth of damage, and you fix it. Well, is that car still worth 30,000? No, it may be worth 27 or 25 or 26. That is the result of it being in a crash. That's what we call diminished value. So whenever you have a diminished value claim, we've created a booklet to help you understand, number one, what it is, and then number two, what you can do in order to get your insurance carrier or the other insurance carrier to pay money for the value of the diminished value. One of the things that we do is whenever someone's seriously injured in a crash and they hire Meldon Law, we help them with the property damage claim without charging an additional fee, and we help them with the diminished value claim without charging an additional fee. And in some cases, it can be a fairly large amount. It can be $8,000, $10,000, $12,000 that you get from the insurance company. And really, when you go to sell it, you're going to sell it for less. So it's not actually a windfall. However, if you don't collect it at the time of the crash, then you're going to forever give up that claim. And when you go to sell your car, you're going to get less money for the car. So take advantage of it. A lot of other things going on at Meldon Law. We're having a really good time. It's the start of the new year, and we're trying to promote our new book, Buying Florida Auto Insurance. I have here one of our accident kits, and this is what we give away to people when they contact us. And the accident kit has in it valuable information with regard to what to do as far as getting insurance. I'm opening up the box now. I kind of crushed a little part of it, but it still works. Anyhow, this book is called Buying Florida Auto Insurance. I'm the only known attorney around these parts that has published a book telling you exactly what you really need in order to be adequately covered in the event of a crash. Whether it's your fault or the other person's fault, you need adequate auto insurance. And I lay it out in this very concise consumer guide. I think you'll love it. It's easy to get. Again, two ways. Call the office, 352-373-8000, or go to meldonlaw.com, and you'll be able to get a free copy of your book. Why do we do this? We do it because we feel a responsibility as members of the community to educate everybody as far as what's going on in the world of insurance and why you need good insurance. The neat thing is I summarize all of our recommendations on one page, so you don't have to really worry about spending much time. All you got to do is get the book, take it to your insurance agent locally, and say, Joe or Jill or whoever it is, this is what Jeffrey Meldon recommended. What do you think? We're going to be back in just a minute and continue a terrific show with Lizzie Jenkins. We'll be back very shortly. We still hear it. The sound of victory, part of something great. And while things may not be the same right now, we haven't gone anywhere. If you bleed orange and blue, then Meldon Law is the firm for you.
Well, I was in a truck accident. Because of the accident, I've resulted in 3 back surgeries. We saw advertisements on TV, and guess who popped up more often than not? It was Jeffrey. The communication that he provided was so appreciative. He shows his compassion as a human. He assisted us in achieving one of our dreams, the acquisition of a home, and we're here today with smiles on our face with the assistance from Jeffrey.
We are here at the University of Florida, where Albert and Alberta are competing in the Gator penalty shootout. Albert is ready to stop the shot at all costs. What a disaster! Luckily, Meldon Law is the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. If you have suffered any injury, do not worry, because Meldon Law is going to help you with your recovery. Meldon Law doesn't back down until they reach their goal.
Welcome back to Meldon Law and Friends. I'm Jeffrey Meldon, attorney and founder of Meldon Law. We're excited to be here on the show today, and one of my very dear friends, Lizzie Jenkins, is here to talk with us about the Real Rosewood Foundation. Good afternoon, Lizzie. How are you doing?
I'm fine, Meldon Law. How are you, Jeffrey?
We're doing good. We're doing really good. So last weekend was a great event out at the Bo Diddley Plaza, and we were there, and what a nice turnout. What a beautiful day and a nice turnout.
It was. It was a beautiful day. We had several people there from different organizations, very supportive, very, very, very excellent turnout. And you were there, so you were the greatest.
So anyhow, it was really fun, and I think we were commemorating the 100th anniversary of the Rosewood massacre that occurred in Rosewood outside of Gainesville towards Cedar Key. And I think for a lot of people, a very important lesson in history was delivered.
Exactly. And may I tell people who I am?
Yes, I would love that.
Lizzie Robinson Jenkins, founder president of the Real Rosewood Foundation, Archer, Florida, established in 2003. And I want you to know that for 30 years, I have been working on Rosewood, the history of Rosewood, to authenticate it. So my mother said to me, my mother was the sister of the Rosewood school teacher, and my mom told me that I must take care of the history. So her sister was assaulted in Rosewood, very brokenhearted, lost everything she owned, and told my mom her story. Mom said, you must tell that story. You must keep it going. You must research, authenticate, and just keep it going and tell the truth. That's what I have done for 30 years. I heard the story first in 1943 at the age of 5. And it is my mission, my passion to keep telling the Rosewood story. So at the event Saturday, all of the people that believed in me were there, and then some. And we had a wonderful time, and hopefully we are going to continue together as a team. We have a good team. We have an excellent following, and we're trying to raise money, as you know, because you are very, very supportive, okay? And I need some more Jeffrey Meldon out there. Okay, so you may go, may I do a commercial? Thank you very much. You may go to our website, which is rosewoodflorida.com, and leave a donation. You listen to all of these great stories and these great podcasts that Jeffrey has been doing over the years. We need a little finance. So you may, and he gave me permission, go to my Rosewood website or our Rosewood website, rosewoodflorida.com, and make a donation. You can start with $2 a month, okay? You will see it on there where it says donate. And also, may I talk about my book, my children's book?
Yeah, here's what I would like you to do.
Okay.
I would like you to talk about your book. And also, most of our listeners have not heard the story
Of
of
Rosewood.
Rosewood. So,
Really?
so I think now would be a really good time
Okay.
for you to
tell the story.
tell our listeners, most of whom haven't heard the story, and particularly heard the story from you, know,
Okay.
who are the visionary behind Real Rosewood. So let's go ahead, and Lizzie Jenkins is going to give you the real story.
Yes, and the reason I named my website The Real Rosewood is because my information is real. I can answer every question with the exception of how many people were in Rosewood when it happened. I don't know, and no one else knows.
Now, where was Rosewood located in relationship to Gainesville? And tell us a little bit about the background of the thriving community they had.
Okay, the background, Rosewood was in 1923 when the massacre happened. It was progressing. It was progressing. There were about, and as the research says, 17 families there. However, I know for a fact there on the school records there were 27 parents and 40 students. Rosewood is located in Levy County on State Road 24, approximately 9 miles from Cedar Key, which is west of Cedar Key. Cedar Key is a peninsula, one way in and one way out. And they were doing quite well, and they got the blacks and the whites were friendly to each other. They were neighborly, okay? They shared, and they were not rich, okay? It was not a tussle like some people want to think it is. They were not wealthy, but they were not, they were, the most important thing was to make a living and take care of their family, and that's what they did.
And a lot of folks owned their own homes there, and they had a nice community, and they had jobs. And so from the standpoint of the history of Rosewood, it was a very successful community.
It was. Everybody worked. Everybody worked, and as I said, they shared. And there were 2 or 3 colored, as we called them back then, that owned businesses. Okay, trucking, like a little trucking company. I remember, I'm thinking it was Charles Hall owned, and Charles was the father of about 8 children, hard-working young man. However, he died before 1923. But there were 17 families, not what you have heard recently, 8 families or 6, not true. 17 families as reported by the investigator, Dr. Maxine Jones, and her 4 team members. There were 17 families. And they were hardworking people. And then, do you want to know about what happened to Rosewood?
Yeah,
Okay,
I think that's really important because it's a piece of history that is very sad. However, if we don't remember what happened in
Yes.
history, then we're doomed to repeat it.
Right. So Rosewood was doing quite well until a little old sleazy woman with a cheating heart triggered the Rosewood massacre, and the colored had to depart. They ran for their lives in the middle of the night. They'd heard a mob was a-coming to start a hideous fight. And that's when Fannie Taylor, who was having an affair with a white man, okay, and she wanted to call it off because she had a son.
She was a married white woman,
A
right?
married white woman with a son.
And she was having an affair with another white man, and it was occurring when her husband was at work at the sawmill, right?
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And she wanted to call the relationship off, and he did not. So a fight ensued. And as a result of the fight, she was left bruised. And as you said, her husband was the foreman at the Cummer sawmill. And report to work at 4 a.m. every morning, and other men or other workers reported to work at 4 a.m. However, the young man that Fanny was having the affair with, her lover, he carpooled. He was from Gulf Hammock. He carpooled from Gulf Hammock to Sumner each day, and he didn't have to report to work until 6 a.m. Therefore, he had a couple of hours to hang around, and he took up company with Fannie Taylor. So on this particular morning when the incident happened, her husband came home, found her bruised, and he wanted to know, well, what happened? And you know, of course, she said, A did it. Okay. And
a black person, she accused a black man of doing it, but she didn't use that word.
Exactly. And the black man was my Uncle Aaron Carrier. So for those of you out there who have not heard the story, you can find some information on my website, rosewoodflorida.com. And you can get in touch with me through the website, and if you want more information. But anyway, I do have a book coming out about the history of Rosewood. So after the fight, after the assault, that's what they said happened, James Taylor, her husband, was furious at the idea of a black man touching his woman, his wife, which was back then an unpardonable sin, okay, for a black man to touch a white woman. So he was furious. And as I said, he was the foreman, so he called on his foreman and his sawmill workers to help him catch the person who had assaulted his wife. And he also made a call, telegraph, not call back then. He telegraphed the Alachua County Law Department. Okay, people always tell my story. They don't know what happened, because in order to tell to confirm what I'm about to tell you, they have to have the supporting evidence. And when you hear people talking about what I'm about to tell you, they don't know. They're talking behind me. And that has gone on recently and for a long time, repeating my history that they did not research.
Well, tell us what happened now. So there was a message sent by telegraph to Alachua County. Yes. And this was January 1st, 1923. So 100 years ago, January 1st.
Exactly. And on December 31st, 1922, the KKK from the southern area, I call them the southern region, came to Gainesville, and I talked about this at our centennial on Saturday, came to Gainesville to rally, and they always, every year, each year, they would come and they would rally downtown at the Gainesville Square, okay? And they were in town when they got the message that there was something going on in Rosewood / Sumner. So Polly Wilkerson, who was the deputy, and if you all don't know who Polly Wilkerson is, don't repeat his name. This is my history. Was the deputy. So he and Henry Andrews got together. He was superintendent at the sawmill. So the three of them got together and they were going to work something out. So they invited them down. They came down, okay, to get involved in this Rosewood incident. It wasn't a massacre then, riot. And many of them came from Gainesville, drove from Gainesville, and many of them went back home to the southern states because they didn't want to be involved, and they did the right thing. Because people don't talk about it, but all hell broke loose when James Taylor and his friends decided to infiltrate Rosewood. They were met head on with gun battle, okay? Now, coming into Rosewood, one way in and one way out, down a dirt road, which was then a rut road. Some of you out there know what a rut road is. If you don't, look it up.
Not well paved.
Right. So they had trouble. It was at night. They were drunk. They had shotguns. They were hanging off the running boards. You know what running boards are? And on the fender with the shotguns, talking noise. Okay. Didn't know that Sylvester Carrier, who was one of the protectors of Rosewood, shotgun-toting young man, Aunt Sarah Carrier's son. They did not know that he had gone out, called his friends from Levy County, his cousins, and they were waiting for them behind the house, under the house. I don't know about under the house, but behind the trees and the barns in Rosewood. So when they came to Rosewood, as I said, they resisted. The black men resisted. Because if they had not, then they all would have been killed. But they fought like hell, okay, to keep them at bay. And as my mom said, her sister said, they were yelling and screaming, "Oh, help, I've been hit." And cursing also, cussing. I guess they were cussing then, okay, because it wasn't cursing. So they were afraid for their lives, and they tried to turn back, but because they were driving down a dirt road, there was no way to turn around. So some of them jumped off those cars and ran back to Sumner to safety. And the story goes on and on and on. But later on, and I missed the part about telling what happened to the young man that drove in with the from Gulfhammer and how he got back to Gulfhammer. He knew the Masons in Rosewood.
Now, was this a white man?
This was Fannie Taylor's old man, or Fannie Taylor's lover. When he wanted to escape, he knew Aaron. My uncle lived in Rosewood. He knew Aaron was a Mason, and they had called in the dogs. So Aaron was not expecting anyone to come to his house this time of morning. So this man was trying to save his life and get back to his family. He was married, so he went to Aaron's house, did the Masonic knock on Aaron's door. Aaron and my aunt in bed both sat up, I understand, startled. Who would be knocking on their door that time of morning? Aaron jumped up, I understand, as told by my mom, dressed partially, whatever, ran to the door. Who is it? Who is it? My aunt could not hear whatever this young man said, but I understand when Aaron opened the door and saw that white face, he almost passed out and said he told him something that my aunt, because they were asleep in the bedroom, and Aaron came back to the room and quickly put on his clothes, and she asked him, "Who is it? What happened?" She didn't know the man was white, and he mumbled something because he didn't want her to know. So what he did, he went back to assist this man, went next door to Sam Carter's house because Sam Carter had a wagon. So they put this young man on the wagon, took him to Gulfhammer. He was safe then. No one talked about him. He had a family. His family never knew what happened, okay, because they didn't tell it. So they brought the wagon back and came back. But I understand before they came back to the house, to their houses, they circled the surrounding property and saw that a crowd was coming together in Sumner, which was the KKK. And what they did, they came home knowing something was going on, that they didn't know the details. And Sam Carter parked his wagon, dropped off Aaron. Aaron came in the house, talked to his wife, and he was so disoriented, unbelievable. He was so upset because he knew if this many people were coming in to town, and as the newspaper said in 1923, it was between 300 to 500 Klansmen that came and mixed with the other people already living in Sumner. So Aaron had a right to be scared. So he said to his wife, "Let's go to Aunt Sarah's house." Everybody went to Aunt Sarah's house. Aunt Sarah was the pillar of the community. So she welcomed everybody, and they knew something was happening. So the women that lived in Rosewood decided, let's go to Aunt Sarah's house too to see what was going on. So my aunt said Aaron was so disoriented and so out of it, they had to put him to bed. He was scared to death. Okay, so they eventually came after him late that first day, which was January 1. I told you they called the dogs in. So they decided to get the dogs and track the Fannie Taylor's husband, which led them straight to Aaron Carrier's house. However, Aaron was not there. This was day 1, okay? However, Aaron was not at home, and they were, and the dogs lost the track, the scent at Aaron's house, because that's when they heisted him onto the wagon and took him to Gulf Hammer. So they went back to Rosewood, angry, of course, and I'm talking about the KKK, and started drinking moonshine. Everybody drank moonshine back then. They made the moonshine because Levy County was a dry county. So they started drinking, got drunk, and then their nerve, they felt like they wanted to go back. So sure enough, they came back later that night, went back to Aaron's house, didn't find him. Somebody in the gang, I understand, said, let's check Aunt Sarah's house. They went to Aunt Sarah's house, pushed the door open or kicked the door open, and asked where was Sylvester, because that was Sylvester's house. And no one knew, so they were so bold and nasty and deceitful, they just started kicking the doors. They found Aaron in bed, covered. They snatched him out of bed with a lot of profanity, took him, put a rope around his neck, tied him behind the Model T car, and dragged him from Rosewood to Sumner. I don't know why he didn't die. That's about 3 miles. And they took him to Sumner and gave him an everlasting down-home kicking, cussing, beating. Almost killed him. He was bloody from head to toe, feet, ears, everything. Butt, with the gun butts and everything. And they kept questioning him. Where were you last night? At home. Were you involved? No. They didn't believe it. Okay? So what they finally did, after he was bleeding and he kept trying to talk, he said something about Sam Carter. He didn't say Sam Carter had done it, but he called Sam Carter's name. Do you want me to pause here?
No. When we're leading up to what the massacre, so I want to, I want you to keep going, because some of the stuff you're telling me now I've never heard in such great detail.
Well, no one knows, and when I say they don't know, they weren't there. All of this is my mother's information from her sister. So after they dragged Aaron, almost beat him to death, and I heard somebody say the other day, yeah, he went to jail. And keep that history out of your mouth because you don't know it. I know it. I lived it through my mother. The one thing I disapprove of, people talking my story. They don't know it and cannot prove it. So when just before they said, well, he's damn near dead, let's finish the end off. So the sheriff drove up, Sheriff Bob Walker, and said, no, don't finish him off. I'll finish the end off. Put his in my car, and I will finish him off. And sure enough, he convinced them to throw Aaron in his car, but he did not kill Aaron like he told them he was going to do. As fast as his car, he could drive that little Model T, he took Aaron to Gainesville, Alachua County Jail. No one knows this. Don't repeat my information, and you better not put it in a book. I've done 30 years of research. So, and I have the supporting evidence to tell people how I know he was in Alachua County Jail. I'm not going to share that. That's my secret. But anyway, the sheriff, Levy County Sheriff, Bob Walker, said to Alachua County Sheriff, P.G. Ramsey, put him up. And you better not tell anybody he is here, okay? Now, if you can't prove how long he stayed there, you don't know he was there. Aaron was in jail for 6 months. His wife didn't know he was alive. She didn't know what had happened to him. the sheriff would come by her house and give her a visit, but he never told her to check on her to see how she was doing. But not by her house, her parents' house in Archer, because that's where she escaped to. That's where the train dropped her off, in Archer. And the sheriff would check on her, but he never told her what happened to Aaron. He didn't want her to know, because if she had known he was in the Alachua County Jail, she probably would have tried to visit him.
So but he went to Alachua County Jail before the massacre. We've got 3 minutes left in the show. I wanted you to, number one, explain the massacre and when that happened. And then let's wrap the show up and tell people how to help the Real Rosewood Foundation.
Okay, you want me to tell what?
Well, as I understand it, the first week of January,
yes, okay,
the KKK and some of the residents of Sumner viciously attacked Rosewood,
yes,
burned down the houses,
yes,
murdered 5 people, and there was a famous movie called Rosewood that was made about it's somewhat fictionalized, but it carried the essence of what happened.
And my mom was invited. My family was invited to the movie live stream, and my mother was the spokesperson. Okay, they wanted to hear from her. They wanted her to evaluate the movie.
This is a 1997 movie.
1997. My mother was 95 years old, and after the movie, they asked her, Mrs. Robinson, on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you rate the movie? She said, I'll give it a 7. And they thought that was great. But my mom said, she followed up with, but the 2 most important things, it let people know that Rosewood happened, and it let people know that white women will lie on black men. And the entire movie could not believe it, and they went, most of them were white. And my mother put her hand on her shoulder at age 95 and said, yes, they did it then, and they are still doing it now. I have earned the right to say whatever I want to say. Complete silence. I was there, and I was like, oh, my God, Mom, what are you going to say next? But she was my historian, and I know today she is smiling on me because I have worked to keep this history alive, and what I want to do to make sure our children know what is happening. And if you want to support my foundation, the Real Rosewood Foundation, please go to rosewoodflorida.com, click on the donate button and donate. And also, may I announce my podcast that you are going to be on?
So I've been doing this podcast for a little over 2 years now, and I found out recently that Lizzie was going to start her own podcast, and I think it's going to be terrific. I think it's going to be a blockbuster, and I'm so excited, and it's going to create awareness for the Real Rosewood Foundation and how to help create this museum to keep history alive.
Exactly. And the name of my podcast is Queen Lizzie Podcast. And you may go to Spotify, and I can't remember where else to find me, but you will find me.
Yeah, there's Facebook, Spotify, there's 38 audio channels, YouTube for video. So I encourage everybody to check out Lizzie Jenkins' podcast and go to the rosewoodflorida.com website so we can help build this really neat museum in Archer, Florida.
Yes, and the house, it's going to be the John Wright House, donated to my foundation February 12, 2021. Awesome. The young people that donated it, I'm thinking it's going to be present. You all will meet them this week. We have invited them. And it's not my museum. And I tell people Rosewood is not about me. I want people to tell the truth. Don't lie. When you lie, you insult the victims. You insult me too. So don't talk about Rosewood if you don't know about Rosewood. And all of my work is crisp Okay, it's not from these heritage websites. Okay.
Yeah, okay. So that's why we call it the real Rosewood Foundation.
Exactly.
Okay, because
Yes.
there's kind of certain myths that go on. Anyhow, Lizzie, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. This has been an incredible